they kind of push you to learn different words and use different words that mean the same thing. In scientific writing and in college, you have to use the right word. Okay? So I don't mean literally go to a dictionary and define things. If you have to kind of, if you're between two words, then I would say, yeah, go to a dictionary and find which one is the correct one to use in this situation. They both may be right, but there's really, when you get down to it, one word that would be correct. Okay? All right, so you want to avoid synonyms. And the reason you want to do this is because you don't want to open up your paper to interpretation. You want the audience to read it for what it is and understand it for what you wrote. Not read it and interpret it on their own, because then your meaning is lost in translation. What you really meant is not even there anymore. Anyone confused about this? Ask questions. We're a family. There's no shame.
In grading papers, guys, lab reports and papers, I have taken off major points for people using one wrong word in a sentence, because it changes the meaning of the sentence. In science, the meaning of the sentence is what matters. I need to get that information across to you. If you use the wrong word, you've changed the meaning of the sentence, which could change the entire meaning of what you're trying to tell me. Those words, each word is very important. Each word matters in a sentence. So that's where concision helps.
Also, don't be too specific. You don't have to, let's see how I say this nicely. We know that you're intelligent, and don't assume that your audience is dumb. Assume that they're just as intelligent as you are. So you don't have to be so specific where you're just feeding this point in, and you kind of lose the flow of the rest of the paper. Is that understood? Okay. And use the active voice and not the passive voice. Anyone have an example of active versus passive? Okay.
Had been walking. Had been walking.
Versus
Was walking.
this is passive.
Like, the active voice would be the person who threw the ball versus the passive, which is the ball was thrown by the person.
Exactly. Everyone get that? Everyone hear that? Okay. This is something that's kind of difficult to teach. It's one of those things that you have to kind of make a mistake first and go back and say, that's kind of passive. So proofreading is kind of important here, and I'm pretty sure we'll see a lot of examples tomorrow when we go over each other's paper. So the take-home message here is to use the word that would not confuse the audience. And the audience sometimes is your teacher. If you confuse your professor, they're not going to ask you what you meant. They're not going to take the time to ponder it. It's just wrong, whatever, and they move on. Question?
Yeah. Where you said don't be too specific and act like the person is already as intelligent as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in high school, which I think we're deleting that in the past, we were kind of told to act like whoever's reading what you're writing doesn't know what you're talking about, so you can get your point across.
Yes and no. We're going to write for someone who may not know specifically what this article or what this topic is about, but they're not elementary school students. They're just like you, they just don't know something, okay? So I would say read it. The key here is proofreading. Proofread it. If it makes sense to you, it should make sense to your audience. You don't have to beat that topic into their head as if they don't know anything, because sometimes even professors feel like, okay, this is an insult, or they may feel you're just using up words, you're just using up space. Mm-hmm. Be as concise as you can, and it comes with using the right word. If you use the right word, and if you're concise and you give information, you shouldn't have to keep repeating yourself.
Kimberly brings up a really good point. Professors were students too. We know that a 2-page paper, how long it should be, how many words you should use in general. So when you guys change your margins around and add quotes and do all kinds of other things, the best way to put it is it pisses us off.
As I say, it's just annoying.
It's just annoying. It just makes us mad. You don't want us mad when we're reading your paper. There are 19 of you and 1 of me, and I have to read everything that you write. You don't want me mad. You want me happy. You want me happy and looking over your paper really quickly, see if I see any big errors, and I can move on and your paper's safe. Don't make those common little mistakes. Don't put extra words into something because, oh, I don't think this is big enough. I don't think I've said enough words to cover it. If you're concise and accurate, I'm happy. You've covered what I needed you to cover, and you've said it in an appropriate way. If you think you need to add fluff, you don't understand the topic, and I already know that you don't understand the topic. So that's important.
I had a question about the conclusions of like lab reports. Like we still do that, right? When we write college lab reports, there's still like the objective and then procedure, conclusion. There's all of that same stuff, right? The same components to it, or is it different?
There is, and I have a whole lecture on that report that we're going to go over in the third class, but there is a skeleton that we pretty much use, and different professors may ask for something added, something taken away. So we have a whole lecture on that, and in general, yes, but no. But but it's a whole lecture on that, so we'll go over that in the third class, okay? Drew, you have a comment about that?
I don't. It is different but similar is the best way to put it. Our lab report expectations are different than what you would do in high school. They're going to be very different in some places, particularly procedures. Is very, very different than what you're used to, and that makes it even harder. But we'll get there. Third one.
So any questions about concision? No? Okay. Then move on. Alright, so the key to concision is recognizing and eliminating zeros. So what is a zero? It's words or phrases that don't give meaning to the main idea. It's called filler. So sometimes, like Drew said, you will have whole paragraph that's just filler. And professors will X it out in their big red pen or scratch it out, make it as ugly as possible, and they don't even consider that a part of your paper. It happens. It's happened to me in college. It's happened to Drew in college. It would happen to you in college because,
All of us.
yeah, because realistically, 25-page paper, if three of your pages are filler, they're going to exit out and they don't consider it anything.
Mm-hmm.
And now you only have, 22 pages. Happens. So your job is to eliminate these zeros. I have an example box here, and I want you guys to recognize what phrases or words are zeros. So the first example is, it is interesting to know that the heart pumps ... What's a zero or the zeros in this first sentence?
It's interesting to know.
Right. You can just start with the heart pumps. That's the fact. That's accurate. That's concise. No filler. Gets your point. Like I said, it's not colorful. It's not interesting. It's just the facts. Okay? What about the next one? Sure enough, a petri dish is used to grow blank and blank.
Sure.
Okay. A petri dish is used to grow blank. Of course, the temperature was adequate.
Of course.
Okay, of course. The fact is,
We don't have anything.
that whole thing.
Okay.
Okay, that whole thing is not necessary. Okay, the cells are extremely beautiful.
Then
We don't care how you feel about the cells. Like I said, it's not about how you feel or your opinion. It's the facts. Okay. We're just gonna move on. All right. So you want to be specific. You want to explain exactly what occurred, and you don't want to leave room for interpretation or confusion. So when I say be specific, I mean tell me exactly what you mean by that. So let's go over some examples. The subjects cause many problems. Anyone have an alternative to this sentence? Anyone see anything wrong with this sentence? Okay.
You're not told what subjects or what problems.
Right. In scientific writing, you just can't leave it open, okay? If this was a study about, I don't know, about mice and the size of their liver, we don't know what problems that may come up in that topic. Were they too rowdy? Were they not, big enough? Like, we don't know what problems we're talking about. So you have to be specific and explain every little thing. To you, it may seem redundant, because you've done the experiment or you've read the article, and to keep writing it out is kind of like, well, I know this, but your audience don't know. So you have to be specific. What about this? The car went fast.
How fast?
How fast? What kind of car? Talking about like a real car where like 110 is fast, or like a little toy car where 50 miles per hour is fast? You don't know. Be specific. Okay? The plants grew to be a normal height.
What's the normal height?